and welcome to Council Catch-Up here on WSTO TV. I'm your host, Derek Westby. Just a reminder, WSTO TV is on TDS and Spectrum Channels 981, on Facebook and on YouTube, as well as on Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, Android, and iOS devices. We're here to talk about the January 28th, 2025 City Council meeting, and I'm here with Mayor Swadley. Welcome.
Good morning.
So you had the call to order, and you had a couple of public hearings. Anything interesting happened during those?
The public hearings, there was nobody signed up to speak, and they were part of action items that were later on in the agenda.
All right, awesome. So then we went through the public comment period and communications and the consent agenda. And then the first item in old business was Ordinance 1 of 2025 relating to street design standards.
Yeah, so this one was on for a first reading back at the January 14th meeting. So our second reading on an ordinance was really for the approval process. And what we did is we worked through Public Works Department and looked at our terrace width standards and the distances for the road width as well. And what we really try to do is dedicate more green space. Up to 12 feet is the minimum standard. So when we're doing new developments, the expectation is we'll have 12 feet of green space so we can put bigger trees in that area as well as more area for snow storage.
All right. Then under new business, you had a couple of first readings. The first one was Ordinance 2 of 2025 relating to rezoning of a couple of lots into planned development.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we had the public hearing, and we discovered that there was some confusion in our zoning code as it related to duplex lots, and specifically the amount of width of street frontage they need to have in front of them. There was some confusion on whether that should be 40 or 50 feet because we had a different number for the street width than we did for the lot width. So what we wanted to do is to get some clarity for that. And in the meantime, over the years, we had some duplexes that were built down on Ashbury Lane, and this was this area here. As it was built out, it was under the understanding that they needed a minimum street width of like 40 feet, and really we want the ordinance to be 50 feet. So on this particular unit was built recently, and their understanding was it was under a lesser amount of street width that was required. So we wanted to get this one as a planned development and get it in, and so the property owner could sell the duplexes. Otherwise, it would have had to go through like a condominium process in order to sell the units. So really what we're trying to do is clean this up. And then the second part of that, which was the next ordinance for the first reading, was to take the other duplexes that were built in that neighborhood that would be considered non-conforming, make that as part of a planned development instead of our zoning code, so those would be in compliance as well.
All right. And then, so that was Ordinance 3 that you were talking about?
Yes.
There? All right.
Yep.
And then Ordinance 4 of 2025 was to amend the controlled intersections to include a few more.
Yeah, so, you know, we've had several new developments in the last few years, and one of them is Magnolia Springs. And working with the neighbors down where South Page Street was extended to Isham, that intersection there, we had some concerns that were raised as far as the increased traffic flow, and we're still only in the first phase of Magnolia Springs, so we anticipate even more traffic as it gets fully built out. So the idea was to put a four-way stop intersection there at Isham and South Page Street, and it'll not only slow down traffic, but it'll make it, you know, a lot less confusing for people to know whether or not they have the right of way, or this way they all have to stop together and it'll be safer. There's also a fair amount of pedestrian and bicycling areas down there with the trail system that we put in. So anything we can do to help, you know, calm down the traffic, we think is beneficial for the neighborhood.
All right. And then Resolution 4 of 2025 was relating to Phase 2A of the Stoughton Trailers Gateway.
Yeah, so STI, or Stoughton Trailers Incorporated, has been doing the development on the corner of 51 and Highway B. And really One was the corporate headquarters, which is making great progress out there. And then phase 2A and 2B would be the next phases of that. And what they're really looking at doing is getting the plat approved for that. And under 2A, there was a couple things that we highlighted. One of them was there was a section of duplexes that run parallel to Highway B. And initially in the preliminary plat, we were looking at subdividing them into 9 lots. And what we decided to do is just leave it as one big lot, and then those divisions could be made later as a builder comes in and wants to develop that area. And then the other significant change is there's initially 2 access roads to go to Highway B. One of them would be basically connect at the intersection where Country Club Road is, and then the other one is the extension of Greenspire that comes out on B, kind of behind Sand Hill and the church. And at least for phase 1A, the developers wanted to move ahead without that intersection at Country Club Road. They did a traffic impact analysis, or what we call a TIA, with the county, and the county determined they'd have to put in a roundabout at that section. So what they want to do is delay the installation of that connection there, and then focus on the connection out on Greenbrier, because that's the first area of the development that's going to be built. They're hoping to build some multifamily apartments out there behind Sand Hill School. So they want to focus on that, and then there's a possibility that when we get to phase 2B, that we might have to do an additional TIA to determine what the traffic flows look like as the development occurs, and whether or not it's advantageous to include that roundabout in the phase 2B, or just have the single intersection on Highway B. There's at least 3 other opportunities to enter the development. One would be at the intersection where Rutland Dunn, Town Line Road, 51 and Greenbrier connect, which will be a roundabout in 2026. And then also with the extension of Kingsland and Creedman Drive going into the subdivision. So we think from emergency management and access to this development, there's plenty of opportunity. We really want to delay the decision on that roundabout on Country Club Road until a further phase.
All right. And then item number 11 was the discussion and possible action regarding the depot building sale.
Yeah, so over the last couple months, there's been a lot of discussion about the future of the depot. The city was approached by Schmidt Foundation, who has a long-standing presence in Stoughton, born and raised here, wanted to give back to the community. They have been giving back to the community through scholarships at Stoughton High School for the last 25 years. And they have a vision to acquire buildings down by the railroad tracks and create an expansion of our arts district that's down there, build on the momentum that we have with the addition of Able Contemporary and the Grand Inspired, as well as the Laguerre and some of the other businesses that are down there. So really the discussion has been, should the city sell the building? What is the vision of the Schmetz? What will happen with the chamber and the historical societies museum and artifacts that they have in that building? And the city council did reach a decision point last night to sell the building. There's several contingencies that we have to work through, just like there is on a normal sales. But this really signals to the Schmetz that the city is really embracing their vision and look forward to implementing their vision. And it also signals to the chamber and the museum that we need to focus on a relocation plan.
All right. And then item number 12, discussion and possible action about the J.T. Klein tax increment financing request.
Yeah, so this one we talked about in closed session. Mostly the city attorney did give kind of an overview in open session on some of the finances and the decision points for the council, which we discussed in more detail in closed session. Bottom line is that city council gave some direction to the city attorney, and with the hopes of entering into an agreement with JT Klein to build some workforce and senior housing out on 51 West on the west side between Stoughton Lumber and Rutland Dunn Town Line Road.
All right. Well, that's all we had for the January 28th, 2025 City Council meeting. We'll see you next time on Council Catch Up.